Hello everyone and welcome to another random video on the internet. And today I'm doing something a little bit different. I thought I would make a tier list of every single what if video I have ever done so far on this channel. And as you can see, there will be some that haven't been released yet, but they'll be based on speculations on how I think they will turn out. But yeah, that's pretty much it, basic concept. So we can begin with the one that started it all pretty much. What if Naruto became Hokage after pain? I guess I should explain these tiers a little bit, or what I'm going for with this. Basically what I will include is how much I enjoyed making the video and how good I think it actually is. So basically gonna be the enjoyment and the quality. So for this, my very first what if, I think it's okay, because nothing really happens. It's just a setup, and the most that happens is like the Naruto gets appointed as Hokage, and that's pretty much it, which is kinda what the first part is all about anyway, so it's not very entertaining. By the way, I've rewatched this entire series pretty recently, so I have a solid idea on this. And yeah, for me, when I was watching this, I feel a lot of nostalgia for it. I enjoyed making it very much, but in terms of actual quality, I think it's just okay. Now, for the second one, I think it's pretty good because it has a lot more going for it. It has the whole Five Kage Summit taking place, Naruto, how I think Naruto would deal with the summit, and how he would try to convince the Raikage to do things. And I just I just like the idea of Gaara teaming up with Naruto in the summit, sort of like supporting each other, and then they convince Mei to jump in as well. Like, yeah, I think that's pretty good. The old generation's views clashing with the young generation's views, pretty much for that. That was like the main theme of that part of the story. I like it, it's pretty good. The third part is, I think, really good. I did a poll recently about what part of this series was people's favorite, and like most people said the third part, which is kinda concerning for me because it's literally happened more than half a year ago by now. Like, pretty soon, there's gonna be a 1 year anniversary for these parts coming out, because they all came out like 3 days apart, I think, or like 1 day apart, like during Christmas pretty much. So that's kind of concerning that it peaked at the very start. like but the part itself is pretty good. We have Sasuke fighting Danzo and the Raikage fighting Naruto. The power scaling of the part is the weakest part of it, because at the time I was relying on like Seth the Programmer and Swakage's scale for why Jiraiya would be above the Raikage, when it's really kind of nonsense. When you look at the actual manga, like the Raikage was keeping up with KCM Naruto and like outspeeding him for the most part until KCM Naruto got a mental boost or a mental amp. Granted that Naruto was a little bit weaker than like full power KCM Naruto would be. Like, there's a whole debate to be had there. But basically, the Raikage is definitely supposed to be far stronger than Jiraiya and Sage Mode Naruto. But I do believe that at full power KCM Naruto would be stronger. But yeah, anyway, back on topic. The power scaling is really the only thing that doesn't make sense there, because everything else is pretty good, I think. The fights were handled decently well, I'd say. And it was the first part that really got people hooked. So I think it deserves this placement. It's not peak for me personally, though. The fourth part, Sasuke and Team Taka face the Konoha. That's the main event, as well as Black Zetsu dying, thank god. So I think it's between these two tiers, because the whole part with Madara or Obito, explaining things to the Kage is kind of just a repeat of what happened originally. And it's kind of entertaining a little bit with Naruto's reactions, especially when he hears that Sasuke isn't going. He like jumps up like, "What? We gotta go there now." But other than that, I think it's just I'll leave it at pretty good. It has a bit of fun interactions, and Team Taka versus Konoha is good. Sakura gets a moment to shine, as well as Guy's entrance. So yeah, I think it deserves this spot. Now the fifth part. Oh, this one, like, more than half of it was just me explaining why Kisame is stronger than people think he is, and I still stand by everything that I said there, definitely. Or at least most things, everything concerning Kisame specifically. I actually think he's even more powerful now, for multiple reasons, but anyway, I won't get into that here. Um, Other than that, the main thing that happens is Sasuke fighting Guy, as well as Kisame getting ambushed and then turning the tables on everybody a little bit. I'll put it at the top of pretty good, because the fight is entertaining, but like I said, more than half of the video is just me explaining Kisame's power scaling, so I think the highest it can go is pretty good. 5.5, it's like I just wanted to put something out, and I just made a Jigen cameo because why not? Fun fact, originally I maybe imagined Jigen coming into the story way earlier. I'm glad that I didn't go that route, but basically what could have happened is that when Naruto gets OP after fighting Kisame, like he gets Kurama and stuff, I maybe may have had Jigen approach Obito and say, look, you cannot win, so because Naruto is way too strong for you, I don't want to get my hands dirty, but I do want the chakra fruit. So I will help you fulfill your plan and you get your god tree, and then I will backstab you and, take the tree for myself. This is kind of a prelude to another thing that we're gonna talk about later, another video that I made. But in terms of just, like, the part, I think it's okay. It's a minute long. It has a disturbing scene in it. I'm glad that I didn't go down that route of Jigen coming into play early, because that would have been kinda bad. I like how the story went after this, except with the exception of one part, which I'll touch upon. This one is peak. The sixth part it's really good, I think. Like, Kisame's fight with the five Kage, I did like a bunch of references in it, like, how he swims through Anoki's particle style, like Cooler swims through the Kamehameha in one of the movies, in the Dragon Ball movies. That was probably the biggest reference. I even put a clip of it there, but other than that, it's I still think it's good, because we have Naruto in Sage Mode try to take on Kisame and fail, and then be forced to, like, befriend the Nine Tails, which sort of is kind of an asspool, but I didn't want the series to end with Kisame beating everybody up and just calling it a day. Plus, the talk itself is relatively natural, I think. A lot of it is from the canon material as well. So that's kinda, like, I don't want to call it lazy, but, like, a little bit of cheating, I guess, because, it's from the original material, but I did add variations to it. And just the Kage getting bodied part was just kind of funny to think about and write. The final showdown between, like, QB Naruto and Kisame is good, I think. Many people think this is where the series peaked, so I think it's one of the peaks, definitely. Part 7. The talk between Naruto and Sasuke is ripped straight out of the manga, so I'm not sure. Or I think it's either the manga or the English dub. I think it may have been the English dub. So, like, half of the video is just kind of a repeat of what happens in the original. And the stuff with Kurama threatening the Kage is pretty cool. it's like bottom of okay, maybe. Also, the cliffhanger of like Obito saying that he has a gift for Kisame and shows the Sharingan and it doesn't go anywhere. But yeah. For this, the part 8, it, I'm not too sure about it either. I think it's just okay because we have a lot of recapping with Kabuto and Orange Mask Obito, with just Kisame being there adds a little bit more to it. But it's mainly just that. Plus, I mainly spent a lot of that part talking about just what will happen with Kisame later down the line now that he's alive, and presenting people with the poll of like, should he get the Rinnegan or not? He didn't, which I'm kind of glad about because it's stupid. But like in lore, it's not stupid. In the story, it would make sense. But just like, can you imagine Kisame with the Rinnegan? Like seriously. On the other hand, I would have been kind of interested to write a Kisame who's just completely broken and just beats everybody up. But that's already kinda what happens. Naruto's like the only one who can fight him at this point. And yeah, other than that, this part is just a bunch of recap pretty much, so I think it's like here. This part shouldn't have been made. I regret making it. Part 9 is like where Naruto struggles to master Kurama's power, then he goes to the Toad Mountains and learns to like go to the Eight Tails, and then he does, and he like does the Waterfall of Truth to master it. I do not like this part because I really wish that I had kept the Waterfall of Truth for something else. I can probably say this, like, you know, when Naruto eventually wakes up in the story currently, I don't know, maybe that'll happen in like 14 or 15, like, I don't know which part exactly, but it'll happen. Like, he's gonna wake up, he's gonna learn about the outcome of the war fully, he's gonna learn about how, like, Konoha was attacked, the Cloud was attacked, maybe the other villages were attacked, maybe not, we don't know yet in the story. You know, I don't want to talk about it too much. But what I would have liked to happen, like the biggest thing is gonna be him learning about B, like B being captured. I would have liked to keep the Waterfall of Truth for this rather than using it up early, because like Naruto's gonna be full of like negative emotions after he hears all that. So I would have liked to have him go to the Waterfall of Truth now, like when he wakes up, because it just makes sense for him to face his negative emotions then. And this kind of ruins it because I just wasted that plot point. And also, the problem that this part solves is presented in the beginning of this part. Like, oh, Naruto can't learn to control the Nine Tails, and then he just goes to the Waterfall of Truth and does. And that's just the part, along with a little bit of foreshadowing for Obito and like Kabuto's plan, just a tiny bit. So I wish I hadn't made this part. I could have kept that like Obito foreshadowing in part 8 or something and just called it a day, and I wish I wouldn't have wasted this. Now for part 10. The whole Bijou showdown and then Naruto going Sage mode in KCM and just checking Obito, like making him shake in his boots. This one I think is really good. It's like kind of a bit of a recap with the Bijou battle, but it has some variations to it. And also it has the whole forest battle with Madara, so, or Obito, you know. So I think it's like bottom of really good. It's like here or here. I'll put it here. I like it. Part 11 is the big war, the whole ambush and all that stuff. I think it's here. Is it above or not? I'm not too sure, but I really like part 11. I enjoyed working on it a lot. Nagato goes on a rampage, Itachi gets to break out and become part of the main gang. Kabuto, Zeto Tensei runs wild. Like, the surprise attack element of it, I think, is handled relatively well, with all the strategy of the villains as well, with the coffins start emerging to like, no, first Kisame attacks Naruto, immediately grabbing everybody's attention and forcing Naruto into the air so he's like not on the ground to immediately start protecting people. Then the coffins start emerging to distract everybody, and then the Zetsu come up from underground, grab people's legs, and then drag them underground. And then the coffins open up and the Zetsu fully emerge and they start wreaking havoc. I think it's a relatively creative strategy, as well as the entire battle is pretty good. A lot of fun matchups. The one thing I will say is that maybe I should have spread it into multiple parts to have more detail. Because now what happens is like we get like basically like I say, oh, Gara and Guy are facing the Edo Kage, and then Anoki later joins them, and that's it. I just leave it at that. Whereas I could have gone into more detail on how they actually face the Kage. But at the same time, I did go into more detail with Nagato's stuff and like the whole Itachi part of the conflict with Madara and Kisame and Naruto. So it's like a balance. I think it could have been 2 parts, but other than that, it's pretty good. I think it deserves to be here. Now this. Oh my god, I am so salty about this. This part 12 is kinda boring, to be honest. Like, the last half is pretty good, or like the last third of it, with like Obito arriving, bullying Sasuke a little bit until Itachi shows up, and we end on a cliffhanger where like he, Yamato, and Sasuke are gonna face off against Madara, so that's pretty good. And the beginning of it is kind of good as well, with Fukasaku's perspective of all this, and then how he organizes the summoning animals to help the ninjas. But other than that, it's just a bunch of talking. And this part, like, I don't know what happened, but the YouTube algorithm just picked it up and just shot it up to like 2,000 views. But then this next one, which I put a lot more work into and I think is a lot better, only got like 400, 500 within the same amount of time. So I'm a little salty about that, but aside from that, it's pretty good, I'd say. You know, I already explained what I think about it pretty much. Part 13, the most recent part. It's either here or here, because it has a fun battle between Killer Bee and Obito, where Obito can't just rely on Kamui to win, he has to come up with creative solutions and actually use the Rinnegan for once. It also has the 3D stuff. I started seriously working on 3D in this part. I couldn't make the entire part 3D for multiple reasons. One, it would take a ridiculous amount of time, and two, it would have made things like I couldn't make a lot of things because of the limitations of the models that I had. Because basically, for example, for Obito, I couldn't move his fan. I could like move it, like turn it, but I couldn't move its positioning, so I couldn't place it into his arm for any scene. And that's a big limitation. Another thing is that I couldn't get any of the Susanos working properly. I couldn't even find models for most of the Susanos. Also, Kakashi's model didn't have the Chidori or Raikiri, the one that I had. I could have searched more, probably, for that, but still. It's just a bunch of small stuff that adds up, and I just couldn't make the whole part 3D. But the parts that I did make in 3D are pretty good, I'd say. Also, I included a Ruby reference in the beginning. I just picked up the series at like the end of the summer. A friend of mine convinced me to watch it. I'll talk about that more sometime later, probably. But yeah, for this I think it's peak. I think it's good. I really liked making it. Okay, now on to another what if. What if Kushina survived? Wait, how long has it been, by the way? 20 minutes on just this. Yeah, I'll put timestamps on the video so that people can know where to go if they want to like see a certain part, where I would rank it and why. For Kushina, the first part is a little bit too low effort for my taste, because I went all in on the script, But in terms of the actual editing, it's pretty lackluster. I would still say it's pretty good overall, though, because the script really carries it. Like, all the things that I managed to do with Kushina surviving, I think make the part a lot more fun. Because there have been a couple videos of Kushina surviving already on the internet, so I wanted to do things differently, and one thing was having Naruto not be a Ninetales Jinchuriki. Another was having the Uchiha clan survive. I think it's plausible, like, for all the reasons I already listed in that video, that if Kushina survived, the Uchiha may not have been massacred. Um, I'd say it's top of pretty good. I'd say it's here. It has a lot of fun ideas. Mostly it's just explaining stuff before the story begins. So yeah, I think it's pretty good. For this, I'll say it's okay. Probably like here. Because the Zabuza arc is boring, plain and simple, though good guys just beat everybody up and go home. Another thing is the tuning exams are kind of boring as well. The only interesting part is like the individual versus battle matchups, and even then I didn't go deep into any of them, especially because most of them were just washes. The only one that could have been interesting to cover is Neji versus Gaara, and even that's not that interesting of a fight. So overall, I think it's just okay. The only interesting part was the Akatsuki meeting, which I had already teased in like a previous trailer. Then part 3 is where Rock Lee fights Sasuke. I think this one is probably at the bottom of here. Actually, no, the fight between Lee and Sasuke was pretty fun. I'd say here. It also ends on a cliffhanger with Deidara coming in, bombing the stadium, and then like the Snake and Sasori and like everybody else coming in. I think it's pretty good. Also, Gaara just getting wrecked. It just shows how strong Naruto is in this part. And I think it's fair, you know, he's being raised by Kushina and like Jiraiya and Kakashi as masters, so he would definitely be this strong by now, especially since he doesn't have the Nine Tails to hinder his chakra control and things like that. But yeah, I'm sure many people wanted Rock Lee to win against Sasuke, but I just couldn't see it happening in this. Like, if it was like this version of Rock Lee versus canon Sasuke, Rock Lee would have won. But this Sasuke just has so many things up his sleeve now. He's being trained by Shisui, Itachi, and Fugaku, so... alongside Naruto as well, who has many other powerful masters, so he would just definitely win. But still, I think I paid Lee enough respect. He did manage to wreck Sasuke pretty hard with the gates, until Sasuke revealed it was a clone, but yeah. For part 4, this is where I really enjoyed myself. Like, these two parts of the Kushina what if is my peak for this specific what if. Like, Orochimaru comes in, faces down like 5 high-level Kage Shinobi, just reveals the Mangekyo Sharingan, like the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, and just like bullies everybody for the most part. He's just toying with them. I like this a lot. I think it's here. Also, we have Kakashi and Guy starting to face off against Sasori and Kimimaro, as well as Deidara. And also, we have Jiraiya going into Perfect Sage mode, which is something a lot of people I know probably would enjoy seeing in canon as well. Fugaku being a leader figure for the team, as well as the stuff with Tsunade teasing later parts with Nagato. But yeah, I think it's pretty good. Or really good. For this, I'm not sure. It's either here or here. Because first of all, the Orochimaru like dimension warping ability is really OP, but it also kind of is a little bit cringe. Like, Orochimaru just has a dimension to himself where he can control the environment, and then he has like time lag as well, where he can like lag time for one person. Where, like, it's a little cringy, but at the same time, it's the Mangekyo Sharingan. Like, the abilities it can give are crazy, like Obito's Kamui and like the perfect Susanos and Tsukuyomis and stuff like that. I think it's like it's a good there's a good chance that Orochimaru would end up with something as OP as this. Heroes and Sacrifice is I think a lot more like well handled here than in the original personally. Because here he really gets to show off. Like he's like actually pushing Orochimaru back with his like all about to die mental amp as I justified it. But yeah, I think like I played the final Agni Kai for this, from Avatar. Like one of the most depressing and at the same time hype OSTs ever. So I think that added to it a bit. Also, just the bizarreness of Orochimaru using the Susanoo and stuff like that, and him just bullying the entire group. And then the way the part ends with, like, Kushina saving the day pretty much from the Bijou as well as Orochimaru, and Obito backstabbing Orochimaru. I think it's a good cliffhanger. Mm, I, I might even say it's, like, here, honestly. Yeah, I think here, because the beginning is a little wacky with Shisui's death and stuff like that, which kinda comes out of nowhere, but at the same time, Ninja can die on the battlefield out of nowhere at any point. That's like the whole point. But yeah, other than that, the latter half with Orochimaru versus Hiruzen, I think is really good. Part 6 is okay. It didn't do much. It just basically was just explaining stuff that already happened, like a flashback type deal, because I wanted to keep a lot of things a surprise. Also, it brings Nagato back to his prime, because I just wanted someone to be able to compete with Orochimaru at this point. Also, I wanted to make a more diverse story than the original. Because really, think about it, what would happen if that didn't happen? Like, if things just go on like normal. Shippuden rolls around, Kazekage rescue doesn't happen because Gaara has been captured, but Akatsuki suppression, Hidan Kakuzu starts coming to the land of fire. Oh look, Fugaku, Jiraiya, Itachi, Naruto, Sasuke, all those people just jump them at once and kill them. Pain tries to attack Konoha, oops, he's dead. Obito gets the Rinnegan in the war and he comes out to fight. Oops, KCM Kushina just bullies him or something. It just would have made the story pretty boring at that point, so I needed something to really shake things up. So having Orochimaru there, having Obito there, having Nagato there, basically 3 separate villain parties, it's pretty interesting, I think. As for this, I think it's good. It's mostly a wash, which is kind of the point. Like, Orochimaru and Nagato plan things out so that Orochimaru wouldn't be at full power when they fight, and then he would just have no chance, nothing. He has something that they didn't foresee, but from what they know, he had no chance of survival, and they killed him. The fight was pretty entertaining, I think. As well as Nagato backstabbing Obito, then that's pretty cool. The whole divide in the Akatsuki, as you can say. I'm working on part 8. I'm trying to work on it, but I'm having a lot of struggle writing it. I have several parts planned out in advance for this series specifically, but I'm just having trouble writing it out, making it seem natural, the progression. So I don't know when exactly I will release this, but I will try to do it as fast as I can. But yeah, that is the Kushina section. I think that's about right. Maybe actually here? Maybe here, I think is fine. Okay, cooler now. This part did really poorly in terms of views, which is kind of what I expected because, it's a Dragon Ball What If on a Naruto and One Punch Man channel, mainly Naruto. I think it's okay. I I don't really like what I did with the whole government, like Arcosian government or whatever, because I think it doesn't fit Dragon Ball very well. The way Cooler recruits his minions is also a little repetitive, but I wanted to give Cooler a bit more backstory. I think it's pretty good, I'd say, because it explains a lot more about Cooler, Frieza, and Cold, like their whole dynamic together, as well as the backstory for the minions, or like Cooler's armored squadron. I'd say it's bottom of pretty good. Now, this part hasn't come out yet, and it won't come out for a little while at least, because I haven't written and recorded it yet. But from what I know will happen in it, because I have planned like what I want to do with the first part, I think it can be here. I think there will be some interesting stuff here for everybody to watch and enjoy, hopefully. This will be the part where Cooler actually raises Kakarot, you know, like what the title says, adopted Kakarot. So, yeah. Okay, now the Boros story. I really like this one. I really like the Boros story. I think the first part is pretty good. Not that much happens in it, mainly how Boros survives and then the whole like him like some funny moments with him trying to like live a normal life in a normal human city, and then also him fighting Genos and him fighting Darkshine in the VGS. Those are pretty cool moments. I think it's pretty good. This part I want to place here. The one problem that I have with it is that it's a little bit too long in terms of the build-up to Orochi and Boros fighting, and a little bit too short on the actual fight. I considered cutting out their like whole introductions to each other, like Boros explaining his backstory and Orochi explaining his, but I thought that, you know, Orochi's whole explanation hasn't been adapted into the anime yet, and it won't be adapted in a way that I did it, where he himself explains it. So I just kept it because of that, as well as the whole, like, you know, epic monologues before the epic showdown type stuff. So, but the actual fight is good, I think. I think I would place it about here. I think it's pretty good. I enjoyed writing it a lot. As well as the whole setting with the cave and like Orochi hanging on the walls of the cave as Boros darts around trying to hit him but can't because of multiple things. Also, I made multiple mistakes in it. The main one being that no, I'm sorry, Orochi never fought Garo here in the story, and I somehow completely forgot about that. And I just gave Orochi the Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist. And I only realized that I did this mistake while I was recording the video. So it went a little something like this. Orochi, having learned the Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist from Garo during their fight. Oh, wait. Oh no, oh no. That was like literally my reaction at first. Like, I just couldn't. I just registered it like, like, like this, like in a snap. Like, and I just registered it in a snap, and it was like the realization just hit me, and I was like, what the hell do I do now? But yeah, now this hasn't come out yet either, but if I can write it competently, it's here. If I can like fully write it out competently, it is gonna be here. It might even be in a tier of its own, to be honest. I am really hyped about this part. I have about half the script written, but the problem is that half of that script is already like 20 minutes long. Like what I have written now is already a 20-minute long video, basically. So if I write it out fully and make it into a single part, it will be like a 40-minute video, and people usually don't watch 40-minute videos because they're just really long. So I'm not sure if I want to split it into two parts or not. maybe you could like give me some advice on it or whatever. Like because I would be interesting to hear what people would want. Uh, I probably I might split it into two. I'm not sure. But it has a lot of hype stuff in it. Like there's like gonna be a 5-way battle royale essentially, or a 4-way battle royale that is crazy. So, I'm just wait for it to come out. I just hope that I can edit it well because it's gonna require a ton of editing, and I hope that I can find like some decent like footage to use from other anime for this, because really like Platinum S has no footage of him whatsoever. He's just like stills on a like paper white background basically. Granted, they're awesome stills, they are amazing artwork stills, but they're still just stills. And there aren't any renders of Platinum S pretty much. I had to make my own render to like put him in the title. I had to like take him, cut out the background and stuff like that. So I think like if I can edit it well and write it well, it'll be peak. But if I can't, then it might go down to like just really good. Um, Now for this, Jigen joining the war, I think it's pretty good. It's basically a thought experiment on what would Jigen do, like what side would he support, what would he want out of this war? Because in Power we all hopefully know that Jigen just absolutely annihilates the war arc by himself with his pinky finger probably. So it was more so just about what I think he would do, what he would want to do, and I think I presented that pretty well, like all the ideas. Also, I like the little section at the end where I just get triggered over people thinking Kage is immortal. Like, a slight trigger, but still a trigger. Um, Now for this. This hasn't come out yet, and it's just an idea in my head. I have a basic idea of where I want to take this one. It's gonna be like a one-off, probably, or maybe like 2 parts at most. I think it can be pretty good. I'll place it here. I think it can be pretty good. It's gonna be a relatively entertaining video, I'd say, with some entertaining ideas. And now finally this, there's for some reason 2 of them. I'm not exactly sure why, but whatever. I like this. It's not edited at all, it's mostly for background noise, but I think it's really good. I really like the ideas that I presented in the story. Granted, there were a couple hiccups, like why didn't I just make, like, there's like a section where I talk about introducing 2 random new Akatsuki members out of nowhere, when I could have just said it's Hidan and Kakuzu and just, like, basically made Akatsuki suppression a lot more interesting by adding Fuu into the equation and having it take place in the land of waterfalls, like the hidden waterfall village, or whatever it's called exactly, with Kakuzu and Hidan like hunting everybody down and everybody hunting them down. Like it would be a cat and mouse game with Kakuzu, who's a very strategic member of the Akatsuki, very strong, very powerful. It would have been. I might do a whole what if on this actually, because there's a lot of potential to be had here. And like the problem is that all the Jinchuriki aside from being Naruto are meant to die. That's like the problem with introducing any of them into the story and making them relevant. But from the time that I do give Fu, I think she's very good. Like she would be like a powerhouse with having like some control over her Bijou, and just have a fun dynamic with Naruto, fun dynamic with most of the rest of the cast, and then having her tragically die to Pain would, one, give Pain even more hype than he already had. Two, it would basically give us more insight into the Jinchurikis. Like, we would have Takata and Fu in the original story, like being canon, and like because originally the Jinchuriki weren't that interesting. Like, what do you feel for like, I don't know, Yagura or Roshi? Like, yeah, they're kind of sympathetic a little bit, but we don't know them as characters all that well. So here we would have two Jinchuriki be established as like fully capable, fully fleshed out characters, and then have them tragically die. And so the meeting later on when Naruto and Bee meet up with the Bijou and as Edos, like, and they're forced to fight them, that would hit so much harder. And also that Bijou and Jinchuriki meeting in like that like mental place would also hit so much harder. And I just think it's a really fun idea. So I would actually maybe place it like here, to be honest. I think it's really good. I'll probably make an entire what if out of it eventually. But yeah, this has been it. The video is 40 minutes long. I'll split it into like sections. I'll put timestamps so that people know where to go. So yeah, let's just review it really quick. I'm confident about this placement. This part should not have happened. All of these are just kinda meh. Like, most of them are kinda boring. That's like the big problem. These are pretty good. I think they're good either because there's a bit of action in them, like here, or here, or because there's some interesting dialogue, so like these, all of the rest would go here. Boros is here because of the funny moments, probably, as well as just the whole idea of like Boros, the big boy of One Punch Man, actually like surviving longer. So I think Boros is actually, by the way, Boros is my favorite One Punch Man character. I love him, so it was basically just that alone just fueled my desire to make him like survive and make a what if about him. But yeah, I think that's what I have to say about this tier. This tier is that like parts that have pretty good action or are really interesting, like with this and this. So, and the others just have really good action, I think, or pretty good action, like in my opinion. And then these are just the big five of my channel so far. Like, the ones that I think probably most people can watch and enjoy. This one being a little bit suspicious in that department because of the whole Orochimaru debacle with him having the EMS. But I think these are like the ones that have good action, good story, and I like them a lot. So yeah, this is my tier list for my videos. I might leave a link to this tier list in the description so that maybe you can go check it out yourself if you want to and make a tier list of your own. If you do, I would love you to send it to my Discord, because I'm really interested how people would rank these videos. So I'll leave a link to like my Discord and this tier list, and hopefully I can get a few responses because I'm really interested. But yeah, anyway, that has been it for me today. Hope you had a nice day, and hope you have a nice day. Continue having a nice day. And I'm terrible with intros and outros. See you next time. Goodbye.